Yes, Michelle. Tshwane has been unstable and unworkable. And I think the arrangement is quite interesting of the ANC alongside EFF and Action SA because, I mean, Action SA at some point made a vow, they made a commitment that they will never work with the ANC because the ANC is a corrupt, but of late we have seen them having a change of heart. And I must say that I'm also taken aback by the posture of the ANC because they indicated that they have an appetite to ascend to the helm of a mayorship, but they have given in to the demands of Action SA in terms of joining forces and working side by side. But a key question for me is to whether this coalition arrangement will actually lead to development for the majority or not in Tshwane.
Yeah, certainly. Action SA, as you say, has vowed to never work with the ANC. Is it fair to say, Professor, that things will obviously have changed going into the Government of National Unity, which turns 100 days this month?
Well, there have been some threats. One of them is the fact that the leadership of the ANC in particular is pulling in different directions. Panyaza Lesufi was summoned on Monday. We also had Mbalula sort of like taking a swipe at him that he has made some statements that did not sit well with some people within the ANC. So I think that is the major threat. And I think the survival of the GNU will depend on whether Ramaphosa continues to hold on to power or not, because if a new leadership comes into power, I can bet my bottom dollar the DA and the ANC will go in a separate ways, because the ANC at the moment, in my view, it has two factions. You know, you have the faction that is foregrounded this idea that supports it. You have another faction that is vehemently opposed to it, especially the one that is linked to the working class. Also, you have other people who are part of the Tripartite Alliance who are discontent with regard to the way things are at the moment.
Yeah. It complicates things, doesn't it? The Government of National Unity, which obviously exists, as the name says, at a national level, but things don't translate at a provincial level. In terms of getting those parties who are part of the GNU around a table nationally, but then having different plans, different views, different ways of voting at a provincial level, what does that do to the stability of the GNU as a whole?
Well, I think the political arrangement amongst political parties, it differs from place to place, from situation to a situation. But there was a move by the DA to actually make sure that this model of working together does trickle down to other spheres of government, in particular at local government level, given the fact that municipalities have been unstable and unworkable. But I think the deadlock between the ANC and the DA in terms of working together at local government level does pose a threat also to the stability of the GNU. But I don't think that because the ANC has joined forces with Action SA and the EFF in Tshwane, that will pose a major threat to the GNU to the extent that they will go separate ways. But it is a matter of concern, though.
Yeah, as Helen Zille, the DA's federal chair, said herself, she was apparently blue-ticked and had her calls muted by the Secretary General of the ANC, Fikile Mbalula. She says it damages the trust that they have built in the 100 days of the Government of National Unity. Are these just teething problems?
Look, I mean, you know, my view is that the conception of the GNU in the bigger scheme of things, it doesn't come from the DA or the ANC per se, even though they are running with it. But it comes from the market forces, because even the DA at some point, they said they will never work with the ANC, but then they have had a change of heart. So I think that idea is supported by business, but then there are other new developments like the Bella Bill, NHI, and other whole range of things which are posing a threat to the stability of the GNU.
And of course, it's the people of Tshwane, right? We've been talking a lot about service delivery. the major budget deficit that the Metro is sitting with at the moment. The city itself and its residents are the ones that find themselves in this state of flux now, depending on which way this vote goes in the Tshwane Council and who comes out on top. Hopefully, the progress, if any, had been made in the months of Celia Brink being at the helm. Hopefully that progress continues and we don't start from scratch again.
Yes, Michelle, politics and administration are like two sides of the same coin. Now, if you have political instability, that will affect the bureaucracy. So what you have seen of late is the chop and changing of leadership. So each and every leadership comes with its own policies, IDPs, LEDs. And I think that does pose a serious threat to the stability of bureaucracy in Tshwane in terms of the implementation of the plans of the municipality. And of late, we have seen a number of service delivery protests, especially the ones coming from black businesses, unhappy about the fact that they are not taken seriously in terms of getting business deals and so on. But also you've been having other communities, in particular the ones on the ground, complaining that services are not being rendered to them. And I doubt very much if this marriage of the EFF and ANC and Action SA will bear fruits in terms of rendering services to the people of Tshwane. I think, in my view, it's about musical chairs as opposed to the development of the people of Tshwane.
Yeah, and we've seen similar situations play out in the city of Joburg as well. Not an ideal outcome. I just imagine being a fly on the wall of the negotiations that would have ultimately led to these two candidates coming out, these two nominees for the position of mayor in Tshwane. Not an ideal outcome that the ANC isn't fielding a candidate and has no prospect of taking over Tshwane. It would have wanted to have a hold of the province.
Yes, the ANC has too much appetite for power, even though it doesn't have a good track record of getting the job done in those municipalities in Gauteng. But I think the first thing that comes to their minds is having a grip over those municipalities, because of access to power, because of businesses that come with being in power. I think it's less of getting the job done. I think it's about having power, having access to economic resources for the political elite and the business elite.
Insofar as this sitting is concerned, Professor Breakfast, it's a foregone conclusion. Is that fair to say that Dr. Nasipi Moya will take the mayoral chain? Those votes have been decided.
No, for sure. I think things will go according to plan for the ANC, Action SA, and EFF. I think they are going to win and they will constitute their own council. But I can bet my bottom dollar there will be a slow pace of service delivery, because I don't think that what brings them together is in the interest of those citizens of Tshwane.
Well, let's hope you're wrong for the sake of the residents of Tshwane. Professor Ntsikelelo Breakfast is a political analyst at the Nelson Mandela University. Tshwane is electing a new mayor this afternoon. Just as soon as that council sitting gets underway and voting does begin, we will take you back there live. This is a live picture coming to us there, and you can see that people are still sort of milling about. There have been several calls for political parties to call their members into the council chamber and for the process to get underway just in the last hour or so. Once it does, we will take you there. In the meantime, let's